Hey there guys, so yeah, let's talk about this upcoming fight that's going to be happening on the 5v5 between Raymond Ford and Nick Ball. So yeah, just seeing the reaction for this fight, I believe this fight is one that has split opinions. A lot of people seem to be very split in who they believe is going to win. You know, you look at some of like the boxing channels who put out polls who's going to win this fight. I think it's pretty 50-50. I think the odds are quite close as well. And yeah, it's a very competitive fight, and it's one that people are unsure of, you know, who's actually going to win this fight. So yeah, let's talk about it. So both of these guys are coming into this fight after pretty good performances. Raymond Ford beat Kolmatov for the WBA title. And to be honest, I was really impressed with Raymond Ford in that fight. He showed some things that he hadn't shown before. I always thought Raymond Ford was quite talented. You know, he's got a lot of athletic ability, and he's quite technically good as well. But in that fight, Raymond Ford really showed that he could take a shot. You know, Kolmatov is like a legit one-punch knockout artist, and you know, Raymond Ford was able to take his shots without blinking pretty much. He showed that he could fight on the front foot when necessary. You know, take the fight to Kolmatov. You know, which is something he never really showed before. Raymond Ford was always someone who liked to box on the back foot. And when Kolmatov decided to box on the back foot, Raymond Ford was taking the fight to him. And he showed that when he's down on the cards, he can go out in the 12th round, you know, put it all on the line, get the stoppage, you know, go all out and get that stoppage. And yeah, I was quite impressed with how Raymond Ford performed in that fight. I think he showed that he's a very good fighter. I think you know, he has a lot to his game. He's very versatile, and he's someone I rate quite highly based on that performance and based on what I've seen so far. And obviously Nick Ball, he had a draw with Ray Vargas, which I believe also happened in Saudi when Joshua fought Ngannou. And you know, it was a fight where Ray Vargas was able to, you know, pick up the first 6 rounds. He pretty much schooled Nick Ball, you know, just using his long range boxing, just picking him off from long range. And you know, after the 6th round, the tide pretty much changed. Nick Ball really started to up the pace, you know, using any tactics necessary. And he did get away with a lot. He had to, you know, he had to be very dirty to get inside. He had to be really dirty to rough him up. And the ref was pretty much useless. You know, on both sides, Ray Vargas was holding a lot. And Nick Ball was like throwing him about the ring. You know, he threw him over and clipped him with a left hook, and Ray Vargas went down, and it got counted as a knockdown, even though it wasn't a real knockdown. And you know, a lot of people seem to think that fight was a robbery. I don't really think it's a robbery. I mean, I think Ray Vargas won the first 6 rounds, and if you gave him, you know, 1 round in the last 6, you know, that makes it a draw. So I don't really think it was like a blatant robbery, like, you know, it wasn't a robbery like Kovalev versus Ward or something, you know. I think it was a fight that, you know, it's quite fairly scored a draw. But, you know, Nick Ball showed that, you know, when the fight is going against him, when he's getting outboxed from long range, you know, he can really take it to his opponent. He could be very, you know, dirty and exploitative on the inside. He can really rough his opponents up. He's very physically strong. You can tell by his body type that he's quite physically strong. He's very stocky, very muscular, you know, very short for the weight. And he's very stocky. He's, you know, a lot of people call him like the mini Mike Tyson. And he's got that sort of body frame for the featherweight division. And, you know, I think even though Ray Vargas was a bit faded, you know, he didn't look as sharp as he once was. You know, I think that if that was Ray Vargas at his absolute best, I think he would have won that fight. And I think Ray Vargas is a bit past his prime at this point. You know, he got schooled by O'Shaki Foster in his last fight. He had a very close fight with Mark Magsayo. And the last time Ray Vargas put in a very good performance was, you know, I can't even remember. Maybe it was like the Eduardo Baez fight, maybe. And that was years ago. So even though I thought Ray Vargas was a bit faded, I think Nick Ball did show that he's got something to offer in the featherweight division. I think he can, really turn the fight around when it's going against him. But going into this fight against Raymond Ford, if you compare Ray Vargas to Raymond Ford, obviously Ray Vargas is a bit taller. He's probably got a reach advantage. Ray Vargas is very big for the featherweight division, just based on his height and reach. I think he's about 5'10". But to be honest, I think those are really the only advantages Ray Vargas has over Raymond Ford. I think Raymond Ford's faster, just in terms of his hand speed. I think he's sharper. I think he probably hits harder. I think he's bigger, his body wise. I think he's bigger. I think he rehydrates a lot more. Raymond Ford is someone who is very big for the featherweight limit. I believe he stated himself that featherweight's quite hard for him to make, and he's looking to move up. And on fight night, Raymond Ford could be almost close to the featherweight limit. After rehydrating. He's more versatile than Ray Vargas, in my opinion. We haven't really seen Ray Vargas fight on the front foot and just try and pressure his opponents. Whereas Raymond Ford can do that. And if they were to fight, Raymond Ford and Ray Vargas, I believe Raymond Ford would probably school Ray Vargas. I think he'd probably do what O'Shaquie Foster did to him, and just give him a boxing lesson. So I think Raymond Ford's going to be a lot more difficult than Ray Vargas was for Nick Ball. I think obviously Raymond Ford is at his prime as well, unlike Ray Vargas. I think Raymond Ford has considerably more left at this point. He hasn't had that many fights in his career, so he's a lot more fresh. He's a lot fresher. And I think he's a lot better than Ray Vargas at this point in his career. And stylistically, obviously, this isn't really a fight that suits Nick Ball. In terms of, he's going to have to do his usual. He's going to have to probably get schooled for the first couple of rounds, just like the Vargas fight. He's probably going to have to really turn it around late in the fight again. It's going to be a very tough fight for him. And I expect Raymond Ford to just be boxing on the back foot, using his reach advantage, using his fast hands. Just boxing on the back foot, outboxing Nick Ball, holding the centre of the ring, and just outboxing this guy. When he gets close, he's probably going to hold. And for the first couple of rounds, I don't really think Nick Ball will be able to have that much success, to be honest. I think Raymond Ford will probably pick up a lot of the early rounds. Maybe he'll pick up 6 in a row like Ray Vargas did. And will Nick Ball be able to turn it around? To be honest, I don't really think he'll be able to turn it around like he did in the Ray Vargas fight. If you look at Ray Vargas, he's someone who's very easy to hit. One of his favourite shots is that left hook to the body. But when he's so tall and lanky like that, and he's trying to throw that left hook to the body, he's really having to duck down. And obviously it gives Nick Ball an opportunity to hit him. And Ray Vargas is someone who has very poor defense. Ray Vargas is someone who has very poor defense. I think Raymond Ford has a lot better defense than Ray Vargas. I think he's probably got a better chin. Ray Vargas has been down a lot of times in his career, and I'm not sure if Raymond Ford has ever been down in his career. I'm not sure. I don't think he has. And he showed a granite chin against Kolmatov. So I think it's going to be very difficult for Nick Ball to hurt Raymond Ford. If Kolmatov wasn't able to hurt Raymond Ford, I don't really think Nick Ball is going to be able to. Kolmatov is a lot bigger puncher than Nick Ball. He's a lot bigger for the weight. And I think it's a fight where Nick Ball is going to have his success. I think he'll probably land an eye-catching shot here and there. I think he'll have some good rounds in this fight, just by being quite rough and exploitative, throwing Raymond Ford about a bit probably. And I think he'll make it physical, especially in the later rounds. But I don't really think he's going to have enough to win this fight. I think Raymond Ford's boxing skills, I think he'll outbox Nick Ball for long periods in this fight. And I just think he's going to be landing the better shots from the outside. Obviously, it's going to be a lot easier for him to land shots than it is Nick Ball. Nick Ball's going to have to take a lot of risks. He's going to be falling short with punches, getting countered. He's going to be trying to land like a big left hook to the head, and Raymond Ford's just going to take that step back, counter him with the right hand. And Nick Ball will probably get frustrated in the early rounds because he's not really going to have that much success. And he'll probably turn it up later towards the fight, from what we've seen, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough. I think Raymond Ford will probably be I think he'll probably have a bit too much to his game for Nick Ball. I think his physical advantages, as well as, just his technical ability, I think it might be a bit too much for Nick Ball. I wouldn't even be surprised if Nick Ball got dropped in this fight. I think Raymond Ford is someone who's very sharp. I think he hits decently hard. I think I can see him walking Nick Ball into a big shot. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Ball got hurt. Likewise, I wouldn't really be surprised if Nick Ball was able to throw Raymond Ford about a bit. Maybe he'll do the same thing to Raymond Ford that he did to Ray Vargas. Throw him about, land a shot as he's going down, it'll be counted as a knockdown. But to be honest, I think the most likely outcome in this fight is I think Raymond Ford will win on points. Stoppage is possible, but I don't think it's the most likely outcome. I think for long periods in this fight, I think Raymond Ford will outbox Nick Ball. He'll probably just, when Nick Ball gets close, he'll probably just hold like Ray Vargas did. And Nick Ball will definitely make this fight rough in the later rounds. He'll definitely make it a tough fight for Raymond Ford, but I think Raymond Ford's a lot better than Ray Vargas, and I think he's a lot fresher. So I think he'll be able to deal with it a lot better than Ray Vargas did. And I think he'll be able to pick up rounds towards the later end of the fight. Nick Ball will definitely have his moments, as I've said, but I think the most likely outcome in this fight is Raymond Ford by a clear decision. I think he'll probably win 8-4, maybe 9-3, maybe even wider. I think it'll be quite a clear win for him. I don't think there'll be any controversy. Nick Ball is someone who, he does have a high volume, he has a high work rate. He can punch decently hard, and he's very rough, he's very physically strong. So I still think Raymond Ford will be given a tough fight in this fight. I still think he'll be very physical, very tough. But I still think he'll do enough to win. I still think he'll pick up enough of the rounds, just on the outside boxing. I think he'll pick up too many rounds for Nick Ball to close the deficit. And I don't think Nick Ball's going to stop him. I think the most likely outcome is Raymond Ford on points. So, let me know what you guys think about this fight in the comments. And thanks for watching. God bless.